I'm very excited about Angel Olvera. Angel is a remarkable young man. He literally started a career in construction and custom woodworking, and he was, in the beginning, exchanging his time for money to pay for the growing bills that he had in his family. And then a coworker introduced him into a business, and after a lot of time and dedication, at the age of 23, such an old man. At the age of 23, his business exploded. In the last 14 years, he's helped thousands and thousands of people experience the very same lifestyle. Angel owns several different types of businesses, generates millions of dollars annually throughout his networks and his mentoring of people. He's the author of Bulletproof series and just released his third book called Bulletproof Leadership. Please welcome my friend, Angel, as he comes.
Wow, it's an honor to be up here, Mr. John Maxwell, introducing me. I mean, it's pretty amazing. I used to listen to John in arenas and never got to really meet him in person. And the reason I want to share the story is because when I was growing up, I grew up in LA, in the bad area in Los Angeles, around gangs and drugs and all that stuff. And I got caught up when I was in high school. I got kicked out of high school when I was in the 11th grade. And I also became a father when I was 16 years old. So if you guys got any kids like me out there, there's hope, okay? I could talk to them for you, or if you know somebody. And what happened at an early age, I had to go work in construction. My dad got me a job at a cabinet shop. His buddy owned a cabinet shop. I worked up my way there, became a journeyman, bought my first house at 20 years old. I was doing all these things. But I remember sitting there in LA, in the San Fernando Valley in 100-degree temperature, sweeping sawdust, and I was like, I sat there and I felt like a failure. And, I was sitting there because when I was in high school, I used to play baseball and I was getting scholarships to go to these elite schools, they're looking out for to play baseball. And I felt, I just let my mom and dad down. I let my whole family down. And then I got into this business and I had a mentor of mine tell me, you got to read this book. And I was not a book reader. So now that I have authors and all that stuff, it's kind of funny because the only thing I used to read back in the day was sports. If there's anything sports related, I read it, that was it. I don't want to read anything else. But he said, no, you got to read this book. And I said, okay, great. What book is it? He's like, this book called Failing Forward. And I was like, oh, great. I'm already a failure. What am I? I'm going to read more about failure? Like, this is fantastic, right? So anyways, I read the book Failing Forward. It changes my life. It changed my life forever. And that's why I have to talk about that. I have the law of empowerment, but that book empowered me to go become successful regarding my circumstances. Not because I didn't have a college degree and I didn't have, all these accolades and I didn't have all this stuff. And it blew my mind how that was fertilizer for me. And that if I fall flat, 5'9", if I fall flat on my face, I'm 5'9" closer to where I want to be, right? And just get up and keep doing it over and over again. And that's what I was able to do. And that's how I became successful. So Failing Forward, talk about law of empowerment, is what empowered me to go and take that first step. So thank you, Mr. John Maxwell, for writing that book, because that book is, everyone should read that book. And for me, what happened was, I remember when I first got empowered, my first empowerment in business. I was brand new, it was technology, and I was wanting to learn from one of my leaders. And I was excited, and I said, listen, I'm gonna go to a meeting so I can learn more about the business and learn how to build a business. And he's like, yes, meet me here, and this, okay, great. So I meet him, I'm meeting him, I'm going to the meeting, and I'm sitting there, and we're waiting, and all these brand new people are there. I'm the only one that's from the company. I've been in for about a few weeks. And then he calls me up and says, we're in traffic right now. Do you think you can handle the presentation? And I almost passed out. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, the number one fear in life is public speaking, right? I mean, people would rather be in the casket than give the eulogy, Right? I mean, that was me. I was like, where's the back door? I got to get out of here, right? And I was freaked out. I was like, okay. He's like, listen, just start the meeting. We'll be there in a little bit. We'll take over, whatever you leave out. I said, okay, great. So what I did, I went to the kitchen. I was like, you guys got a pen? They're like, yeah. I go, okay. What I did is I started writing bullet points on my hand. So I was like, I was writing them on my hand so I could look like an expert. So I talk, I move around, whatever. I'm talking, I'm doing the meeting. And all of a sudden, I'm like trying to look at my hand and I'm talking to the people and I probably look not too cool, but it was all smeared because I was so freaked out. So I couldn't read it. So I'm going like this. I'm like, what the heck? I can't see anything. And I don't know what I said, okay? But we closed some deals that night. And my leader never showed up because he said he was in traffic in LA still, right? Which, who knows? But anyways, that experience empowered me to go out and become successful. It showed me that I didn't need to know everything about everything because he told me, listen, you know more than anybody in that room. You know what that makes you? The expert. And I was like, okay. So it showed me that, listen, you can empower people. You can empower people. And sometimes people are afraid to empower people, or we call it cutting the umbilical cord, right? They don't want to let those people go because, I don't know, they might not do it right or whatever the case is. And some of the things I've learned about empowerment is the fear of loss. People are fear of losing out on something, fear of losing their rank, their status. Somebody might pass them up, right? They may take your business over. And that's an insecure leader. You got to be confident and secure with yourself to empower other leaders. Why do other people, leaders don't want to, empower other people is because change. People are afraid of change. People don't change unless they have to, right? Things happen, the company shuts down, whatever the case is, then they want to change. Unworthiness, right? People feel like they don't know enough and they're not at that level to empower other people. I had a conversation with a leader the other day, and on a scale from 1 to 10, this leader rated themselves about a 4. And they were like, they were so nervous and they didn't want to empower anybody else because they felt like they didn't know that much and they weren't at that level to empower other people. Now there's people on this person's team that are 7, 8, and 9s, and they're ready to fly. They're ready to go to the top. But because this person's insecurity of themselves and is not allowing them to empower these other people is hurting their business. It's hurting their business. So I said, you have to get out of your own way, and you have to empower these people and let them go out there and do what they need to do to help expand the business. Another thing is a control freak leader, right? I always tell my control freak leaders they're gonna need Tums or some stomach medication because they wanna control everything, right? They wanna control the situation, what the outcome is, the leader, everything that's going on, And these people have a hard time, with this because they wanna control everything. They wanna be the end all, be all, everything all, be at every meeting and do every meeting and do this and sell everything, right? So they have a hard time with that. And I say, you can't control it. You can't control everything. And a lot of times I see leaders make a mistake. What they'll do is they will go to a meeting or to a sales presentation or wherever to go because they feel they can do it better than the other person. And I get that. But in short term, that may make you successful. Long term, it's gonna hurt your business because you're not gonna be able to multiply yourself. And that's what you wanna do. You wanna multiply yourself as a leader, And I do this all the time. If there's something going on, if there's some presentation or sales thing that we have to do or whatever the case is, I will allow the new leader to go there and do it. Even if I can go there, maybe close 5 or 6 deals, if they close one deal, you just empower that person to go out there and change the world themselves. They don't need to depend on you, right? A lot of times as leaders, sometimes we're in the same market and you're working with other leaders, they depend on you too much, right? It's a crutch, and that's why, when you build leadership in other markets and other areas, sometimes those leaders actually do better than sometimes in your local market, You know, one of my dear friends, she's like a big sister to me, Mrs. Becky Brissell, you know, she was, you know, the queen of that. You know, developing other leaders, you know, empowering other leaders in multiple markets. And we've done that for years. And that is so crucial for your business. And one of the things I've learned in business in empowering other people is delegating. You know, one of my mentors, he was a master delegator. Delegating people to do certain tasks, do certain things, because then you believe in them. And I'll never forget, when I was in construction, we used to do architectural woodworking for like the fancy casinos in Vegas, all the woodworking. And I remember we used to have these crazy deadlines because casinos wanted to open up on this day. And my boss, I don't know if this has ever happened to anybody at a job before, but the boss comes up to you and they're like, hey, can you stay late and get this job done? And, you know, and they didn't ask anybody else, they asked you. And you're like, yeah, you know, I got this, right? They didn't ask nobody else but me because they know I got this. They empowered you. They empowered you to get a job done. And how did you feel about it? Because they trusted you and you got it done. So it's the same thing when you delegate something to one of your leaders, but give them a task, right? Inspect what you expect. You know, don't just set them up for failure, but, you know, to give them a task, delegate to their strengths. You know, those are big things in empowering other people, guys. And these are the things that we've done to help us become massively successful, you know, in our business, guys. It's just empowering other people. And, you know, in learning from, you know, Mr. John Maxwell, his books and all the teachings he does with leadership, the speed of the leader is the speed of the group, right? And if the speed of the leadership level as you grow in leadership is how fast your organization is going to grow. And if you're the speed of empowering people on your team is what's going to multiply your business and make it a lot bigger and a lot stronger, guys. You know, and that's how you know, like some of the leaders talked about today, how to have that freedom to do what you want whenever you want, right? If you're doing all the work and you're the end all be all, how are you gonna develop, right? How are you gonna be free? And the law of empowerment is the way to be free, guys. My name's Angel Olvera. Thank you, guys. Have a great weekend. God bless. Thank you.